And some of the things that the Lord's just putting on my heart that I want to share with you is fragmenting us relationally. One of them is taking our offenses or our disconnects public, but not to the person, publicly or privately. But if we just air our grievances with people or with culture or the way a church does something or the way a leader does something or something somebody said or they did this or they did that, now let me share with you my opinion on that. We're fragmenting that person and we're fragmenting people who are in relationship with us. That relationship with that person we may never have that relationship, and we're not stewarding that, but we are stewarding this relationship. And that matters. If we take our offense to others instead of to the person that we're upset with. If we take our offense public, it becomes slander. If we take our offense private, it becomes gossip. Our disconnect can grow in the spotlight, and our disconnect can also grow in secret. Another thing that we tend to do is that we speak in anger to tear down rather than grace to build up. And we go, what? I'm just speaking the truth in love. Love whispers. And if you can't get close enough to somebody's life to whisper truth into their ear, then you probably shouldn't be speaking. Love is intimate. Love is close. Love brings us into proximity. And those I love, I can whisper something to and they will hear me. If I have to shout for someone to hear me, I am not showing them love. And I am not communicating in love. And this is what we look like when we say, oh, we love this culture, so let us shout from over here how terrible, messed up, messy, wrong they are. Instead of humbling ourselves and saying, Jesus, teach us how to love culture in such a way that we can be embedded in it into the point of being able to speak the truth in a way that people will hear. Because when we step in and do life with people, we are now gaining what? Authority and influence. And authority and influence, I'm not talking about it as a positional thing. I'm talking about it as relational equity. With relational equity, you gain authority and influence to be able to speak truth to people. But what begins to happen is that you're not going, I'm going to love this person so that I can speak the truth to them. You're going to say, I want to love this person. Another thing that we do is that we hold offense. The Lord showed me a picture of a child holding their favorite teddy bear or their favorite blanket, and that they walk around with that. And for some of us who have kids, we've seen our kids carry a particular teddy bear for years. And we have tried. We would do that, okay, can I have that thing? And you sneak it away, right? And then they find it, and then before you know it, they're carrying it around again. We can become like that with offense, where it just becomes so familiar that we don't even realize that we're carrying it, and when we don't have it, we don't feel complete. Because offense has become our story. And so we carry these things without even realizing. We become numb to offenses that we're carrying. We become blind to offenses that we're carrying, as if we're that child carrying around a teddy bear. And I'm going to have the worship team come back up with these last 15 minutes that we have together. Sorry, I meant to call you guys up a couple minutes ago. My bad. Numbing ourselves to the unforgiveness that we carry. I think that there's a lot to unpack when we start talking about unforgiveness. And I know that any of us could teach for probably days and days and days on unforgiveness, because it's very nuanced, right? And when I get up here, I want to be like, hey, I understand that people in this room have experienced deep trauma and woundedness, that you have been deeply hurt by people. And for someone that doesn't maybe know you or walk in life with you, to stand up in front of you with a microphone and say, you just need to forgive, can seem extremely disjointed and can be almost painful. It can feel like the religion is being heaped back onto you that I'm trying so hard not to put onto you. And so I am always wanting to hedge to like move ahead of this conversation and say, but this, and but this, and but this. But at the end of the day, there is a journey that none of us are exempt from, to journey with Jesus towards forgiving every single person in our life. no matter what they've done to us. And I am not saying that from the front as an edict that says, and you need to do it right now, this way. I'm not saying that. I'm saying sometimes for us, for you, forgiveness is God showing you that you have an offense and you go, God, you're right. Please forgive me. I will go make it right with that person. That's forgiveness. For some of us, it is walking with Jesus into a place that he may take us in baby steps. That may take years to say, Jesus, I'm ready to walk towards forgiveness. And he will say, come with me. I will walk this with you. As long as you commit to walking with me, I will take you to that place. And it's going to be about Jesus walking you continually into this act, this supernatural act of forgiveness. And so those are like the things that I want to put around this conversation, of course. But I want to come back to this place of this passage just kind of making me sad. Because who really benefits when Christians fight and when Christians are divided? And as Jesus said, a kingdom divided cannot stand. And Paul tells us not to argue. Paul tells us not to fight one another. Paul tells us not to devour one another with our sarcasm, with our words. And he tells us in Colossians 3 to bear with each other and to forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. And it still just hurts. And I realize that the depth of emotion that I've been feeling this week, it wasn't just mine about sadness about the church, and it was his. And I'm not trying to go on some sort of ego trip of saying, oh, I feel I'm able to enter into the fullness of God's emotions or whatever. If I felt an ounce of God's emotions, I would be flattened on this stage of his compassion or of his love or of his desire for wholeness, for his desire for reconciliation. But I just began to feel the tiniest bit of his emotion. My prayer as a pastor for years and years and years has been, God, break my heart for what breaks yours. And what I felt this week was just his broken-heartedness over the state of unreconciled, unrepentant, broken relationships within his body. And I'm not saying that to stand in judgment to you and go, it's your fault, you have to fix it, you have to do this. I'm simply saying, I believe that he's inviting us to bring those relationships that you're thinking about right now that are painful, that are fragmented, that are broken, and to bring those to the altar and to lay them down this morning.